clicked on this video because I'm going to teach you about how to get all the nutrients you need. I'm really nervous to film this today, so I feel like my personality is going to be really off, but let me close the window first. Okay, hydrate.
So I start every video off doing that. I don't even plan to, okay.
Okay, so you clicked on this video because I'm going to teach you about how to get all the nutrients you need and how to get them really kind of no GMO, organic, natural, produced, ethically produced, all that kind of way. So it's good for you, good for the people making it, good for the environment, and you are very balanced because you're getting everything. So starting off, the nutrients we're actually going to cover is, and I'm going to read this, is vitamin C, protein, vitamin A, fats, B12, zinc, iron, fibre, carbohydrates, iodine, vitamin D and calcium. So there's 12 different nutrients that we're going to cover today. So this video ended up being so much longer than I intended it to be, but I really didn't want to cut out any information, so I split it into two parts, which are both coming out today. So this is part 1, and in this we cover protein, fats, B12, iron, calcium and vitamin D. And then part 2 covers iodine, carbohydrates, fibre, zinc, vitamin A and vitamin C. If you scroll into the description box, you will find the link for part 2. Start off with protein, especially if you're a vegetarian or you're a vegan. Everyone's always like,
oh my god, where do you get your protein from?
And Ellen DeGeneres had the funniest joke about this, and she was like,
Why do you care where I get my protein from?
so that was really funny. But this is where you get your protein from. So first of all, what does protein do for our bodies and why do we need it? So protein is basically the Lego building the Lego building blocks that we have in our body. So it repairs things in our body, like muscle. So when you go to the gym and like you stretch your muscle, protein fills in there and your muscle gets bigger. Helps regulate hormones because it's kind of repairing things. Like if you get a cut as well, it's good to have a lot of protein to help your skin. Protein's good for, again, the skin, the nails, the hair. Yeah, it just repairs cells and like duplicates cells in like a healthy way. Okay, this bit I need to read, which is how much protein you need for your particular body. So a 1-year-old to 3-year-old needs about 14.5 grams of protein a day. A 4-year-old to a 6-year-old needs about 19.5 grams of protein a day. A 7-year-old to a 10-year-old needs about 28.3 grams of protein a day. An 11-year-old to a 14-year-old needs about 42 grams of protein a day. An adult, so 15 and over, need about 45 to 50 grams of protein a day. So we need a lot as we get older, basically. And obviously the particular grams of protein will be marked on the foods when you buy them. So what happens if we don't get enough protein? And I'm here to say that's pretty much almost impossible if you're eating food. Most balanced diets, our body will kind of prioritize protein, so it will take the protein from most balanced diets. If you're eating something that's really unbalanced, if you're eating loads of sugar, eating loads of carbs or something, then you're probably not going to get all the protein in, but it's near enough impossible to not get enough protein. And again, that only really happens in countries where people are malnourished. Sadly, that does happen on a big scale, but in the Western world, not getting enough protein is almost impossible. So all you vegans out there, don't you worry. Okay, where can we actually get the protein from? You can get it from beans, you can get it from lentils, you can get it from tofu, but you know how I feel about tofu. You can get it from milks, mainly soy milk, again, but you know how I feel about soy milk. You can get it from whole grains, you can get it from seeds, you can get it from nuts, you can get it from hummus, like chickpeas. So yeah, that is how you can get your protein. You can add it into salads, especially like lentils, nuts. You can have it in the morning, like with milks and beans and nuts and seeds again. So yeah, getting protein's pretty easy. You can get it in every single meal without like the fattiness of the meat as well. And there is even protein in potatoes. Okay, moving on to the next one, which is fats. Now, we need fats in our bodies. We don't want saturated fats in our bodies, but we do need fats. So cutting out fats completely if you're trying to lose weight, don't do, because we need it. And we need it for our hormones, for our organs to keep running. We need it for our energy in our body. Fats give us a lot of energy. That's why a lot of gymmers have a lot of like fat before they go to the gym, to give them a big burst of energy. And also a lot of vitamins in our body are fat soluble, which basically means that if we don't have these fats in our bodies, we can't absorb these vitamins into our bodies. So you can be taking all the supplements in the world, but your body's going to flush them out because you don't have the fats to be able to absorb these vitamins. And these vitamins are A, D, E, and K. So K is a big one, which a lot of people are under in, but obviously for the A, D, and E as well, you need that fat. So most of us are fine how much fat we eat because we eat so much saturated fat, which is in so many modern diets. What we need is the other kind of fat, which has things like omega in it and omega-3. So that's normally what happens. That's normally what we are lacking when we don't get enough fat in our body, and that's what has like it can affect on our bones, on our heart, our circulation, and we don't want that. So the best way to get fats into the body are things like our oils, and especially if you're a vegan, you will probably take some oil supplements like I have, and it has all this whole like omega package. So there's flax seeds, there's linseed oil, hemp seed oil, and you can also get hemp seeds, which I put in my salads and like savoury meals like pasta and things. Rapeseed oil, olive oil, but obviously again if you're cooking with these oils, don't reheat the same oil, because once the oil's heated it kind of is just like the bad stuff left, and then you're just almost cooking again in saturated fat, which isn't nice. And again, you can get these fatty acids in nuts, in avocados, which is probably the main kind of healthy fat thing you'll see online. But also we can get fats from our leafy green veggies, which we all love. If you don't love them, then learn to love them. Next is another one for all you wannabe vegans out there, and it's B12. Now you can get a shot of B12 if you're deficient in it. B12 basically gives us energy. B12 is responsible for absorbing other vitamins. So if a lot of hair vitamins, hair, skin and nail vitamins that we take, we need B12 and other B vitamins to be able to absorb those like protein vitamins for our hair. Otherwise our body's going to flush it out, and our hair and skin is just going to stay the same. So these B vitamins are very, very important. Mainly, specifically B12 is good for bone marrow, blood circulation, and the nervous system. So kind of like the core parts of our body, the nervous system, the whole communication throughout our body. And B12 is a water-soluble vitamin, so that's pretty easily absorbed into our body. So all we need to do is just make sure we're ingesting it, and then we should be okay. So how much B12 do we need? Really, people rave about B12, but we don't actually need that much. B12 is actually measured in micrograms, and our adult bodies need 5 to 10 micrograms of B12 a day. But also our bodies are really good at storing B12, so if we don't kind of use it up, I guess, our body will store it, and kind of like what you do if there's a food shortage, only use it when you need it. So B12 really isn't that big to worry about, as long as you're eating the right things, like cereals. You can get it in soy. You know how I feel about soy, but I love using soy sauce, and you can get B12 through that. Soy milk, soy like meat-free things, and tofu will have a lot of B12 in it as well. And a lot of dairy-free margarines will have B12 in it. And also yeast extract has B12 in it. So when I was younger, my nan used to always tell me, eat Marmite and you'll grow. Eat Marmite and you'll be healthy. Eat Marmite and you'll feel better. And I was like, I'm not just going to have a spoonful of Marmite. That's crazy. But Marmite is obviously yeast extract, which has so much B12 in it. And that's really the easiest way for our bodies to get B12. And like I said, our body stores B12, so it's unlikely you can overdose on it. So if you love Marmite, eat it until your heart's content. But I do want to let you know, if you are a raw vegan or something similar to that where you just eat plants, B12 is not found in any plants. So just make sure you're having things like beans and tofu and Marmite. to help you. Or if you're from Australia, Vegemite. Okay, next is iron, which a lot of people are deficient in or think they are deficient in. Normally, if you have dark circles around your eyes, which I have permanently, you're normally deficient in iron. But just a quick one for all you girls out there who maybe take artificial hormones, which stops your monthly, then you need to know that a lot of the iron we have in our body is the wrong kind of iron, and that is what we are kind of have too much of. So especially for girls, we have too much of this, and that's why it's very important for us to kind of get that out every month. I'm trying to make this in a very PG way for men to watch as well, but it's very important for girls to get that out every month to again kind of balance our iron levels. Oh my gosh, sorry about my voice. So if you are anemic, you will normally need a lot of iron in your body, because iron creates new blood cells and helps blood circulation, helps to carry the blood to the parts of the body where you need it. So if you have if you have bad circulation, then iron is very good. And obviously because it helps with the blood flow and things like that, it helps to carry the oxygen around the body. It's so hard for me to talk right now. It helps to carry oxygen around the body, which is of course keeps us alive. So for an adult, it's recommended you get between about 7 to 14 milligrams of iron a day, which I don't really understand because that's just double, like, I don't know, but that's the guidelines. So what can happen to you if you have lack of iron? Well, you can get headaches, you can feel tired and lethargic, and you just can't like your motivation in your head, but your body just can't do it. It can also affect your lungs, so you can get quite breathless really easily. Obviously because of the oxygen isn't being like carried around your body. So a big thing and also with iron, you need to be having a lot of vitamin C, and that will kind of help the body absorb the iron. So you'll probably notice this little trend going on here that you need to have the nutrient, but a lot of the nutrients we ingest a lot, we don't absorb, because we need to have another vitamin in our body to be able to absorb that. And so far that's only been the case except for B12, which is water soluble, and other things need like fat to absorb it, or need another vitamin to absorb it into our body. Otherwise it just gets flushed out. So it may seem really overwhelming things, but really we ingest most of the nutrients we need, and it's just making sure that we have the other supplements in our body to be able to use these nutrients. So luckily for you, iron is found in lots and lots and lots of organic and natural foods, like all of our leafy green vegetables, pretty much anything green that's naturally grown green. My cat wants to come in my room. 1 second. Okay, so anything green will not naturally be absorbed by our bodies. You okay, Bubba? That's like spinach, broccoli, kale, cabbage. You can get iron from beans and lentils. Sorry, I keep looking at my cat. Okay, iron from your beans, from lentils. You can get it from pumpkin seeds. You can get it from a lot of dried things. You can get it from dates, figs, dried apricots. And you can also get iron from tofu as well. So there are many, many ways to get your iron in naturally. But the main thing and easiest way to get it was, I would say, green vegetables. If you don't like green vegetables, just suck it up and do it. And if you don't know, that kind of is meant to apparently dull in your taste buds. So if you don't like the taste, you can't taste it when you're eating it. I know my brother used to always do that when we were growing up. Okay, next is calcium. So calcium is obviously good for our teeth, for our bones, for our nails. I don't know if it's an old wives' tale, but you know when you have the white patches on your nails. Which I have one right there actually. And kids normally get that a lot, and that means you don't have enough calcium in your body. Obviously your teeth need a lot of calcium, and your bones need a lot of calcium. Otherwise you get, I think it's osteoporosis, where your kind of bones break down, and that's why a lot of old people, they're calcium deficient, and that's why some, especially old women, get the hunch, because when women go through menopause, they lose a lot of calcium in their bodies. Unfortunately, this doesn't not unfortunately. Fortunately, this doesn't happen to men as well, so that's why you will most of the time see hunched over older women, because men don't go through menopause and they don't lose all this calcium. So how much calcium should we have a day? I'm going to read this, which as if I haven't been reading the whole thing anyways. So for children, they need about 350 to 550 milligrams of calcium a day. So this is a lot more than the other vitamins. For teenagers, they need about 800 to 1000 milligrams of calcium a day. And for adults, we need about 700 milligrams of calcium a day. But that's because we're fully grown, so we don't need the extra help for our bones to make it grow. We just need to sustain it. Basically, it's almost impossible again to not have calcium in the Western world, but we need to make sure we have enough vitamin D, because calcium and vitamin D go hand in hand. They need each other, so both those vitamins can be absorbed into the body. But then if we have a lot of saturated fats in our body, then that can take away from the calcium being absorbed. So don't eat saturated fats anymore. So calcium is found in most vegetables and most milks. That's pretty standard. You can get calcium in tofu, in kale, spinach, watercress, broccoli, swede, and sesame seeds. Okay, what goes hand in hand with calcium is vitamin D. So now we're going to move on to vitamin D. Obviously, that comes from the sun, and that can come from soy milk, that can come from margarine, that can come from different cereals. So vitamin D we can get in our body really, really easily. The best way to get it though is through the sun. Make sure you are protected from UV rays. And yeah, but what we need is enough calcium in our bodies to be able to absorb that. Vitamin D is a fat-soluble nutrient, so we need a lot of those healthy fatty acids as well, but not saturated fats, because that can take away from the vitamin D in our bodies. Now vitamin D is a strange one. So the lighter your skin is, the less vitamin D you need, and the darker your skin is, the more vitamin D that you need. So you will see this exact correlation. So in a lot of like rainy countries like England, where I'm from, and I'm like pale as a I'm wearing fake tan right now as well, so I'm pale as a blooming ghost. So in cloudier countries, our bodies kind of evolved to like get in as much vitamin D as we could from the sun, because there wasn't much sun. So if I go out in the sun in summer, I normally get heat stroke really easily because I kind of overdose on vitamin D. So the darker your skin is, the more vitamin D you'll need, because normally people with darker skin are born in hotter countries, or sunnier countries, not necessarily hot. So the sun is kind of like on your body the whole time, and you don't want to overdose on vitamin D, so the melanin in your body will kind of protect you from too much vitamin D, and that's why I'm like probably the palest of the scale. So if someone like with the most darkest skin in the world as well, so we would need completely different times in the sun, because my body would just absorb too much too quickly. But if you have darker skin, then your body will you'll be able to spend all day out in the sun basically, like building up bit by bit. Does that make sense? So like there's no kind of definitive how much vitamin D you need, but you can kind of base it on your natural skin color, or kind of like your ancestry family, like their kind of climate, like where they lived and where they came from will kind of give you an inclination as to how much vitamin D you need, if that makes sense. So like usually I won't need to take any vitamin D supplements, but I will normally buy Sharav some vitamin D supplements to keep him like energized. And that is the end of the video. I'm sorry it took a long time for me to get through all that. I was using, like I said, the Liz Cook charts information on this, so that is where I drew the information from, and a lot of the wordings are from Liz Cook charts. Yeah, and that's just an easy way for you to naturally get in your nutrients unprocessed, and obviously it's very vegan friendly as well, so you can still get everything in no matter your dietary requirement. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope it helped. Bye.